Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soul Centered. My name is Ariella Halevi, and Shabbat Shalom. We are so honored and excited to welcome you to a morning of prayer, contemplation, and a place to center your soul. Soul Centered is a center both in Denver and in the virtual community to offer you a place to discover lost meaning and healing. And we offer it to all people, all religions, all people. And similar to a yoga studio that introduces different chanting and Hinduism, we are a center that is based in Kabbalah, but those are our roots, and we reach them out to everybody and everyone. So this morning we are going to introduce to you this concept of Yesod, and I'll let Baruch take it from here.
Just getting set up technology-wise. I do believe we're on, but I don't see us on internet, but I guess I'll just assume we're on. Never a shortage of challenges with technology. So here we are. I'm Baruch Levi, Rabbi B, and it's really delightful to be able to offer the soul experience every Saturday morning. As Ariella said, it's all rooted in Kabbalah, but with roots into heaven, and wherever we get our wisdom and our truth from, it's wisdom and it's truth. And that's really today's focus, is this idea of truth. And we're on and we are good. Awesome. Thanks, Abby. So today's focus is the Kabbalistic Sphere, the emanation of what's called Yesod. And Ariella will talk more about it from a chakra perspective, and we'll talk about it in a conversation later on. But Yesod is foundation. It's the idea of truth as a solid building block for our life, right? Kind of like the architecture of our life as we bring down the divine from heaven. We've been talking about this for the past 6 weeks or something. Mm-hmm. So we're almost there. Next week is the last emanation of the divine. But before you get to next week, which is manifestation, you have to have the foundation. And that's what today's focus is. So we're going to weave it into our prayers, into our chants. Everything we do is on the soul sheet. You can download the soul sheet. I believe I put it in the title. You can click to it, or you can go to mysoulcenter.org under tools, soul sheet, and you can use that, but you don't need that. Everything we do is accessible just by shutting your eyes and opening your mind and tapping into your soul and your heart.
So excuse me. With that, we are going to just chant Shalom with the intention, the kavanah of bringing peace into our world, and the power of prayer. So as we begin our singing and our opening, I invite you, if you are not open to prayer, or prayer is a loaded word, because I've had a couple of conversations this week, I invite you to open to this idea that prayer is simply putting energy out into the universe, to the divine, to the spirit, to God, whatever your definition is. So as we chant Shalom, imagine taking that Shalom from Yesod, from your foundational place inside of you, and bringing it out into the energy of the world. Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom. Welcome to Susan, our ever faithful group here at My Soul Centered, and John, and to Amy. I can't see everybody all at the same time always. I think we're both getting older. We're squinting at the screen.
I need my glasses on.
So but we see clearly now with our hearts. So at least that's what I tell myself every time I order contact lenses. So with that, you want to continue on?
Sure. So we'll continue with Hine Matov, Lord, prepare me. And this is a perfect segue into Yesod. Yesod is that foundation, and we'll get more into that today. But Yesod is the foundation, so it's really building on this idea of the energy in our relationships. What is the foundation in your relationship? What is the foundation of your relationship within you, but also around you, with the relationships closest to you? What is your foundation? What is your foundation as we sit here together? There's so many of you that join us every week. What is our foundation? Our foundation is the soul, but it's communal. So as we join in Hine Matov, just remembering that even though we're not physically touching, we are here together to support each other, to be there for each other in times of need like this, but just in times of life. So let's close our eyes and take a deep breath in and feel the energy of your foundation, reaching them out to your relationships. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
So as we continue on thinking about this idea of truth, not just as a kind of a moral stance in this world, but also a way to look at the world. You know, every morning when we wake up, we're supposed to, from a Kabbalistic perspective, say thank you, modeh in Hebrew, but it's just saying thank you. And it's really, I get this from Byron Katie. If you know Byron Katie's work, it's all about, is it true, right? And this is the question you ask yourself all day, every day, when you're confronting the fear, because it's a way of looking at the world, right? Is it true? And if you are feeling fear, you flip it around and you see that, you know, so much what you fear might be true, but it's not the entirety of the truth. And so waking up and saying thank you is a way of focusing on what is good, what is right, what is true, and letting go some of the fear and focusing on that which is love. And so it's a mindfulness practice throughout the day. And we begin it with this word every morning, modeh, modah.
Having throat issues.
She's having throat issues, so I got to sing. So you're going to have now the issues are your problem.
I got it. Here we go.
There we go.
Modeh ani lefanecha ruach chai vekayam. Modeh ani lefanecha ruach chai vekayam. Modeh ani lefanecha ruach chai vekayam. Modeh ani lefanecha ruach chai v'kayam.
We come out the other side of that with a greater sense of appreciation, gratitude, and sense of truth. Rabba emunatecha, which means there't just great truth in our lives and in the world.
Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, emunatecha. 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 And as we continue in our service, we come to Elohai, this idea that our soul, that the divine placed within us a beautiful, pure soul. So as we focus and take our kavanah, our intention to our foundation, to what builds us up in this world, our foundation is our soul. It's a remembering that we are already whole, that there is nothing that we can do, no matter what we are going through, what we have been through, or where we will be going. It's a remembering that we are already here and whole, just being who we are. And that's the essence. That's the divine, pure soul within us. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 oh, Elohai, hey, oh, Elohai, Neshama Shenatata bi Tehorai. Hey, oh, Elohai. Hey, oh, Elohai. Neshama Shenatata bi Tehorai. Hey, 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 hey,
Continue on our journey into Shabbat, into the Sabbath, into this place of return, of equanimity and return. We again continue to use this mantra today of Yesod, which conceptually translates into truth. And so really talking about truth as a pathway to centering ourselves. And I'll talk more about that later. But for now, how about this chant, Brich Rachamana, which is really a chant of bringing divine truth into our lives and living it, and the flow that happens when we start to live and listen to what is true.
Richrach Ramana Malke Diyama Dehai Neshima Richrach Ramana Malke Diyama Mare Dehai Neshima Richrach Ramana Malke Diyama Mare Dehai Neshima Richrach Ramana Malke Diyama Mare Dehai. Neshima, you are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. Richrach Ramana Malke Diyama Mare Dehai Neshima Richrach Ramana Malke Diyama Mare Dehai Neshima. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. So as we continue down our path of opening to our foundation, our soul, our wholeness, we come to Ashrei, this beautiful, beautiful chant of already remembering and finding the idea that happiness comes from within. So just as we find wholeness in our foundation from within, our happiness, we often, it's funny, I was just thinking of one of our children, that it's really hard right now on teenagers to be within their homes, in the confinement of their homes, in jail, if you will. And so this idea, this lesson, which I just had this discussion yesterday with one of my children, is that when during tough times, whether it's quarantine or God forbid an illness or a death or a loss or just a major transition, there is always this opportunity to find our happiness in our center. And it's really not happiness, it's internal joy from within. It's going inside what hurts. So for one of my children, it's the pain of not seeing her friends, the pain of feeling sad and lonely. And so it's going into it instead of running from it that we find our internal joy. It's as if what hurts is the healer. So coming into Ashrei, as we remember to focus on our inner joy, to bring that out. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Hallelujah Od Hallelujah Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Hallelujah Od Hallelujah Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Hallelujah Od Hallelujah Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Oria Hallelujah. Oria Hallelujah. Ashrei Yoshvei Betecha. Oria Hallelujah. Oria Hallelujah.
So this next chant, Olam, Olam means world, Olam Chesed means a kind world. But Olam in Kabbalah is representative of falsehood, because the Olam, the world, is not what it seems. R. Buckminster Fuller was once asked who was the most important thinker of the 20th previous century. And he said Freud. And the students were shocked because he was a teacher of many others, but not Freud, not psychoanalysis. He said, but Freud's contribution was teaching us that the invisible is more important than the visible. And that's Kabbalah, and that's been saying that for thousands of years, that the invisible is what's real, and the visible is not real. The invisible is what is real. And Olam is the visible, but the Hebrew, or the Kabbalists say the word for invisible is Ne'elam, which is the same word. Olam is the visible, Ne'elam is the invisible. And we look at the world around us, and we need the world around us to find our way in this life into our soul, into our truth. Our soul needs a body. And so the body and the world is important while we're here. We just can't be deluded into believing that they are true. There's something truer, and that's our soul. And that's Olam Chesed, is about going out into the world and using it, but not being used by it to find our truth. And so Olam Chesed.
Good.
Oh, thanks. I got a happy gold star.
I give that a thumbs up.
It's like Siskel and Ebert meets Shabbat.
I like that. That was good. It resonated. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Olam Chesed Yivaneh Yananai Yanai Yananai. Olam Chesed Yivaneh Yananai Yananai. Olam Chesed Yivaneh Yananai Yananai. Olam Chesed Yivaneh Yananai Yananai. I will build this world from love. Yadadai. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Olam Chesed Yivaneh Olam Chesed Yivaneh And we continue with OZ, remembering again this idea of foundation. It always comes back to the inside of us, to remember that when we feel the outside structure of what we've built fumble and tumble and shake, we can remember that what is happening on the outside needs the strength from the inside, that wholeness, that remembering, like Baruch said, that we are more than just our bodies and having this earthly experience, but that we gather our strength from the inside, from that foundational place. And then we go out into this earthly world and go from there. So it's like, it's starting inward and going outward. So Ozi. Ozi vezimradia vayahi lishua. 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 Ozi vezimradia vayahi lishua.
So we journey through the Saturday morning structure that we've borrowed from the Kabbalistic tradition. We're not bound to it, we're guided by it. And so we continue to really use it. It's a building process, and we go kind of from quiet and contemplative to a little more vocal and communal. And so we enter into this next part, Am I Awake? As an individual entering into community, conscious community. That's what we're building at Soul Centered, are people who don't have to outsource their power to us. We don't want your power. You keep your power. We're here to all become powerful by bringing our unique voices. We all have a fingerprint, we all have a soul print. By bringing our soul print to the conversation, that's how we build community. And so this is an opportunity to now bring your voice and your energy. Even if we can't hear you, we can feel you, and we're building something, conscious community, by becoming awake together.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da. And we head into the Shema, this central prayer statement of Judaism, in Judaism, of listening, of closing the world around us and coming into your holy listening, being able to listen to the still, small, quiet voice within you, being able to become quiet enough to find that place inside of us, to find our grounding, our yesod, our foundation. So take a deep breath into your still, small voice. Rabbi Nachman said that he could be in the most busy, crowded, loudest place in the world and still be able to find his center, his quiet, his voice. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema, 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 Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, 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 Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, 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 Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya.
Welcome, everybody. If you just joined us, welcome to Lou and to who else just joined us? I saw some others just join us. Well, welcome. You know who you are. It's hard to see. Yeah. Abby. Actually, I saw Sandra Goldstein was on a little bit ago. So again, we're really delighted to have you all here. And we're going to, instead of doing the Amidah, the standing prayer, it's kind of interpretive prayer at this moment in time. You can stand, you can do the traditional prayer. But we want to honor the essence of what this prayer is. And again, Yesod is our Kabbalistic theme for today, which is foundation, truth and foundation. And thinking about what do we stand upon, right? That's our foundation. What do we stand upon that's true, that's enduring? I saw Barb Hirschgiller is on. Barb and I are talking a lot lately about truth and what was true as childhood and into the morning years and the afternoon years and the sunset years, and really finding what is true. You know, if I looked at my body, I would say some of it's true, some of it's not true. I used to have more truth up here. It's gone. That's not truth, right? I am somewhere deep located within me, and the externals are changing. The world is changing. And so really thinking about during the next minute or two, just kind of what is eternally true in your life that you can build a foundation on. Yeah, what's Sandra? Hi, Sandra.
Hey, Sandra.
So we're going to just take a few moments and really meditate on what is true.
Tiftach Yananai nai 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 Ufi Agid Tehilatecha Yananai nai 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 Adonai Yananai nai 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 spatai tifta. Yananai nai 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 ufi agi. Ufi agi tehila techa. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yanai 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 nai nai yanai. So taking a moment in your silent meditation, your silent Amidah, to center your soul, to find the foundation, the truth of who you are, way beyond the physical and deep into the mystical, magical parts of you. Oh, say shalom imromav. Oh, yes, say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
So we'll switch gears going into conversation. You're a part of the conversation. You have a chat box on the side. Love to hear from you. But at the very least, you'll just open your hearts, open your minds. And we do that also through a chant. Kabbalah, Hasidism, you usually start these types of conversations with a chant to remind us that it's really not about the head. It says in the Talmud, Rahman Adi Babaye, that God wants the heart. And so we give God our heart. And how about earth and sky? If you don't know this, it's very simple. We'll just do it in English. Hey ya, 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 oh. Hey ya, 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 oh. Hey ya, 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 oh, again. Hey ya, 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 oh. Hey ya, 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 oh. Hey ya, 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 oh. Mother Earth, Father Sky, heat of fire, drop of water, I can feel it in my body, in my spirit, in my soul. Mother Earth, Father Sky, drop of water, heat of fire, I can feel it in my body, in my spirit, in my soul. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. So I could just do that all
That was good.
the whole
I
time.
love that.
I can do Amen, which is another version of that, and it's a basic fundamental experience, a prayer experience. You know, it feels Native American, it feels Buddhist, it feels Jewish, at least it does to me. I don't know if it does to most Jews, but it should, because it's really this universal rhythm of chanting. And we need to bring that back to our worship, to our prayer experience. So we also need to bring to the prayer experience conversation. You know, prayer isn't just about singing words out to God. It's also thinking, right? The intellect is a pathway into the divine, and opening our minds and our heart is a pathway to the divine. And so we take this 10, 15 minutes or whatever it is to really open our mind as a pathway to God, to the divine. And I'm going to begin, and then Ariella will jump in. We're talking about this idea again of Yesod. If I had the Sphirot, like last week I showed you, but just type in Sphirot, and then maybe like Tree of Life, and you'll see a beautiful picture. It's one of the most beautiful things. I've always wanted to like have a pendant or something with the Sphirot, because it reminds us that God isn't a thing. God isn't a place. God is an experience. Right? Probably the best name of God to describe God in the Torah is Ehyeh Asher Yeh, that I will be what I will be, but I am unfolding. I am evolving. And so we experience God in the evolution of life, of our lives, of who we are. And we experience the attributes, the experiences of God. And so Kabbalah teaches these sphirot, our experiences or attributes, sort of like refractions of God. Like God is the light, and each one is like almost like a drop of water, refracting light in different ways. And so we experience God in different ways. And one of the ways we do is in this week's conversation, which is Yesod. If you look down this Tree of Life, it's the second to the last one as you get to the bottom. The Tree of Life is inverse. It goes from heaven to earth. And so we're almost to the earth, but before we get there, we have to build a foundation. And that is Yesod. Literally means foundation. But it's also translated as Tzaddik, which means righteous ones, a righteous individual. And that's because a tzaddik is able to live their life in a way that sustains the divine. That's a foundation from beginning to end. The Hebrew word for truth, emet, I don't know if you know this, is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the middle letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, emet, aleph, mem, taf. And it's because it's robust. It's a solid foundation. Interesting too, if you look at the Hebrew letters, aleph, mem, taf, each one has 2 feet or a base. It's solid. If you look at the opposite of truth, which is lie, sheker are at the end of the alphabet. It's not balanced. And each letter has 1 point. Shin, kuf, resh has 1 point. It's flimsy. It wobbles. Truth is solid and foundation. Sheker, lies, is flimsy and it wobbles. And there are people in this life who embody emet, who embody truth. They don't wobble. They don't shake from beginning to end. And the purest of the pure, the holiest of the holy, are called tzaddik or tzaddikim. And there's said to be, there's this legend called the Lamed Vavnik. Lamed is a Hebrew letter and Vav is a Hebrew letter, and if you add them up, it's 36. And there's thought to always be 36 of these truly righteous beings from all religions, no religions. They're humble, they're meek, they walk this earth in truth, like a Mother Teresa and a Dalai Lama. But a lot of them go undercover, and they're not known. And they're just humble servants of the divine, and they represent truth in this world. And there's this great teaching. I read a great book by Deepak Chopra. He wrote a novel on this. I don't know if you ever read it. I think it was called Lord of Light. Google it, Deepak Chopra and the 36 Righteous Ones. And it's this Kabbalistic idea that there are always 36 divine beings here carrying truth. Here's a thought on it. It's from The Last of the Just. I guess it's a book by Andrew Schwartz-Bartz. Rivers of blood have flowed, columns of smoke have obscured the sky, but surviving all these dooms, the tradition has remained inviolate down to our time. According to it, the world reposes upon 36 righteous, just, truthful people called Lamed-Vavniks, indistinguishable from simple mortals. Often they are unaware of their station, but if just one of them were lacking, the sufferings of mankind would poison even the souls of newborns, and humanity would suffocate with a single cry. For the Lamed Vav, these 36 righteous beings are the heart of the world multiplied, and into them, as into one receptacle, pour all of our grief. And so we, again, continue on this conversation about not just these 36 righteous beings, we could go down that path, but also what they represent in our lives, of this source of light and truth, that's the foundation upon which we build.
So I think of it as you take the tzaddikim, and you know, there's 36 of them. So how do we take that energy and bring it into us mere humans? How do we take that energy of Yesod, of ultimate truth, like someone like the Dalai Lama, and how do we take that into our everyday lives? Because right. Yesod is really it is truth in connection and communication, and it's building the foundation with the earth. That's why Yesod is down at the lower part of the tree. It's not this higher idea of connecting necessarily to the divine. It is the foundation where we take our truth and how do we bring that out into the earth, into the world?
It's true, and you should continue on. I just want to say, I think the Lamed-Vavniks, these righteous beings, are important for us to remind us of our ability to do that. You know, I'm really deep into Wayne Dyer again. I mean, if I say I have a rabbi out there, it's Wayne Dyer. Maybe Viktor Frankl and Wayne Dyer, they're competing. But Wayne Dyer really talks about this idea. He reminds me of most of my Jewish teachings, by the way, and he wasn't Jewish. And this idea that we need individuals like that, these kind of figures, not to give them our power, but to remind us of our power.
Right, exactly. So they're emanations, they're teachers, to remind us that we also have we have the ability to bring ourselves to the tzaddikim, to emulate that energy. And how do we do it? We do it by looking at our relationships. That is the ultimate foundation building, is connection, communication, and then taking action with that. In Kabbalah, it talks a lot. There's a book called I think it's the Dancing with the Shekhinah. And this idea that Yesod carries this masculine energy, right? On the left-hand side of the tree of life is feminine. But Yesod, even though in the middle, it brings down the energy of action, which is masculine, not male, female, but masculine energy that goes out into the world. But Yesod could only hold that for so long because Yesod needs to act. And so if we think about the way we are in our relationships, it's the truth within us and then acting within our relationships. So how do we act? Typically the action comes from our speech. It's divine speech. I'll take it down to more personal. If you know that there is something there's like some truth inside of you, and you are not acting upon it, then you're holding it inside of your body. You're literally holding it inside of your chakras or your sphero, because that's where we hold our attention and our emotions. So Yesod is the invitation to not only stand in your truth, but to bring it out into the world, often through speech, clear speech and communication, to get it up and out.
And that's why the Hebrew word that's an English word that's connected to Yesod in this sense is Amen, right? Amen means I believe, but it's not I believe. It's I affirm, I complete you. So when somebody says a blessing and you say Amen, what are you doing? You're taking their truth. I've just articulated a truth about food is a popular one to say blessings over. So I'm going to articulate my truth about this food, that it isn't my hand that brought this food here. It's Susan Ecker's husband, Terry, who's the farmer, right? Thank you, Terry, for your work in the fields of bringing this food and then to production and then all of this process. And if I say a blessing over it, when I'm acknowledging all this happened in order to bring this to this moment in time. And so if I'm saying the prayer and you say Amen, you're sealing it in. You're affirming my truth. And what you're saying is, our words and going out into the world. And I think it's important, and it's an important point, because we also have a role to play in other people's truth.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about me standing in my truth, which it is. It's also about me affirming your truth.
Right. And this idea of yesod, when you bring it into relationships or when you bring it into actions out into the world, is this idea of finishing. It's a conclusion. You know, again, you said the word emet is like solid and firm feet on the ground. When I found a great this idea that when you complete a mitzvah, so in mitzvah meaning when you're out there fulfilling an action, whether it's for somebody else or in your work or in life, that the idea is to finish. You know, we know so many people that, you know, you start a project and then you don't finish it, or you start a conversation, you start the communication, but then you don't see it through. So the idea of yesod is to complete. It's to stand firmly in your finishing. Like, let's finish the conversation. Let's solidify the decision. Let's move forward in action by finishing first.
Because also, you know, and we both counsel a lot of people. That's what we do for a living, and guide them. And what happens if you don't finish, like Ariel is talking about, is you stop believing in yourself, right? If you become the type of person that starts but doesn't complete, it starts to chip away at your confidence, but not just confidence as I can give a speech. Confidence as I am a capable human being that was put here to be a divine emissary to do God's work. But if you start and stop and start and stop and start and stop, you get to a point where you're fractured, right? And if you're fractured, you're not emet, you're not solid, you're sheker, you're lie. And so it isn't about truth and lies. It's about building yourself into the type of person that feels emet, truth, foundation, solid, and comports yourself in that way. And people perceive you in that way. And that's the tzaddikim. Right. That's the righteous ones, because they convey in us a sense of possibility. When I think of the Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa and Wayne Dyer and all these amazing light sources, I feel like, well, they can do it. I can become like them. I can do this. Right. And so their ability to stand in truth and complete what they've started gives me that feeling.
I mean, it's ultimately owning your power in a really solid way, in a really emet way. It's owning your power. You know how you feel when you speak your truth, when you own yourself, when you take responsibility for yourself. I mean, that's really what you're saying. I take responsibility for myself. I take responsibility for my relationships, for my projects, for my soul. That is the ultimate lesson of being an earthling here in this world. It's really, can I take responsibility for myself? And when you do, you shine your light. And that's the most beautiful thing about Yesod, and actually about all of these Sphirot that we've been talking about. It's ultimately, like you said, it's ultimately being an emissary of God, an emissary of divine light. How do we shine our divine light in this world? By using our bodies as the pathway, not just our physical bodies, but the personality, self, all the stuff that makes up those characteristics of who we are here, using that as a pathway to your divine light.
Well, I'm going to add to that, and maybe we have to wrap up, maybe we don't. I guess you can always just, turn us off. So
we'll just continue talking.
We'll just continue. We'll be here all day long, but why not? It's free too. So Barb Hirsch-Giller just chimed in, the critical life-changing shift. And Barb and I are working on a program right now, designing a program around, we're calling the shift, and really helping people shift into the afternoon, the second part of life, as more powerful than the first part, because the first part is powerful, but it's not powerful as in truth. The rug can be pulled out from underneath you if you're defining yourself by your job, your profession, your parenting role, your things, and that has its place. But what Barb and I and Ariel and I are working with is, and everybody on this right now, is the afternoon or later. I call it the afternoon and now the sunset, and those are the powerful years. If you're willing to go into what we're talking about, which is true truth, not false truth, not the stuff that appears true, but then in the second half of your life, realizing it's not serving me. Well, if it doesn't serve you, it wasn't ever true. It just served a purpose. but really thinking about what is true in my life from beginning to middle to end, and growing powerful in that stuff.
And then maybe we'll end, but I could keep on going all day. Rabbi Yael Levy, I'll read what she writes every week, a little poem, a talk on the Sfirot. And what she says about Yesod, which goes perfectly with the afternoon phase of life, is that there's this mystical, magical level and layer we can get to. And I've been working with that a lot during this time of quarantine, because the outer world is kind of ripped away from us. So the afternoon phase, I feel like the world is in afternoon phase, and so what happens when we focus on the foundation, when we have a solid foundation, is it's a diving board. I see it as a diving board into the divine feminine, if you want to call it. We have this masculine foundation, and then we dive off into the waters of the divine feminine. And what does that mean? There is so much magic and mystical. Yesod is placed in the center of in chakra terms, your center of creativity and sexuality. And that is a divine jumping into the mystical lands of, what are you here to create? What are the mystical ways in which you present yourself in the world? What is this idea about sexuality and intimacy within yourself, within this center? So it's just fascinating when you jump off the diving board of foundation and into the mystical waters.
Well, I'm not going to stop because our numbers are increasing, so I'm going to keep talking. We seem to do better when we talk than when we sing. Oh, she's a good singer. But, just maybe lastly, we'll keep saying this, maybe last, and then maybe we'll end with this.
So much fun.
That the whole Yesod is number 7 in this process. There's number 6, and it's the one step before number 7. 7 is creation, and thinking about creation coming from a deeper place than the work of our hands, right? That's the morning phase. Morning phase is about creating with your hands, so to speak. Afternoon phase is about creating from your spirit, right? And that grows in power regardless. There's an inverse relationship. The further you get away from the sunrise in the morning phase, the more powerful you get from a soul perspective, because your hormones start to settle, right? You start to grow in wisdom. You start to get, or maybe
it depends what phase
you're in. But you're starting to settle and think clearly with a different part of your body. And so the Kabbalists say you're not even supposed to study Kabbalah until you're 40 and onwards, because you can't think clearly in the sunrise or the morning phase. In the afternoon and the sunset phase, you have the ability to tap into spirit and the sense of creative power in ways you just couldn't in the first half of life. And so to me, that is the most exciting thing, that we are not growing older, right? We're growing wiser. We're growing more powerful if you define it by these new rules, this idea of Yesod.
Right. I mean, I see it. I've been doing a lot of reading on the midlife shift. And that's really what you're saying, is that this idea that as we shift into this phase of our lives, we are looking on the horizon of what's next, of like our lives are finite, and how do we find our way home? And ultimately our way home is that wholeness inside of us, that foundation. But when we are in our 20s and 30s, we're just trying to discover who we are, and we're in the building phase. But as we head into midlife, it is a midlife shift. Brene Brown calls it the Midlife Unraveling. It's a beautiful article. So it's this tap on the shoulder, she says, that says it's time to really come home to the presence of who you are. You can tell when somebody owns their presence, and that's Yesod. It's their foundation. And that doesn't mean, if you're listening and you're feeling like, well, I'm 50 something, I'm 60 something, and I don't even know who I am. So that doesn't mean that right now that you should know and feel your wholeness, because what comes with being human is also this idea that we've had humanness. We've had human experiences. Some of us have had more trauma than others, and wounds than others. And we have to take this lifetime. If you think about those things that you just still can't quite get a hold of. A lot of women that I work with, it's about their bodies. And it's not, at this phase, it's not like, will I lose weight or will I gain weight? It's not that. It's this coming to peace with the bodies that we are given as homes of our souls on this earth. And that's a really challenging thing to sometimes get through in this lifetime. So it's, Yesod is about the dance. And ultimately it's putting those, I think of Emet, like the Kabbalistic, the Aleph Bet letters of those little feet into the earth. It's a grounding.
It is. We are ending with this.
We are.
That it changes the second half of life entirely. It flips it on its head, right? The first half is all about, I am a body and I have a soul. And the second half of life can be, and I think should be, I have a soul, right? I am a soul and I have a body. I am a soul and I have a body. And you're talking about the body is a vehicle.
Right.
We need to tend to it and take care of it and honor it, but as a means, not as an end. It's a means to bring divine into this world.
Right.
And that's how we ground down into those feet of Emet, of truth.
Okay, we're done.
So with that, we are done, at least for
We're
now.
going to head into the healing portion of our experience today.
And we're going to do a kind of a shorter healing.
So if you are in need of healing personally, if you know people that are in need of healing, we're going to invite you to, in the chat, to put their names, put your name too, if you need prayers sent out to you. And we just collectively as a community bring our hearts, our souls, our homes, our foundation to you, to those that are in need. And we remember that no matter what we're going through, we do have community right here to get us through. So as I begin singing, you are welcome to place the names in the chat, and we will go and we will say them for you, just to bring it out into the universe, into the spirit and the divine. So let's close our eyes first and take a deep breath and remember the power of your energy and prayer. And that prayer has been shown to have real shifts. So send your love to those in need. Open your palms, your heart, and your soul. Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of their wounds, counter of uncountable stars, you know where they are. Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars, you know who we are. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Ana, ena, refana, la. Ana, ena, refana, la.
And we conclude with a remembrance prayer called Kaddish. It's just an opportunity to, coming back to Byron Katie, right, to do this with all of my clients who are dealing with losses of all types. Is it true? Is it true that it's lost? And when it comes to death, it isn't true. Our loved ones are not dead. Their bodies, which is a piece of who we are, is dead, and we return it to the earth, but it's only a fraction of who we are. So there's emotion and there's soul and there's memories and there's feelings and experiences. That's all yours. That's all theirs. And so Kaddish is an opportunity just to come back to what is true and enduring about my loved one who physically might not be walking the earth with me.
Again, you can place their names in the chat if you'd like, if you're thinking about those that you have lost. Yikara ve'yikadash Shemei Rabba Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam u'me'almaya Yikara ve'yikadash Shemei Rabba Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam u'me'almaya. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. Shalom, 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 shalom. So we will end with some short announcements and then a last song. If you are new to Soul Centered, we want to welcome you and to invite you every Shabbat, every Saturday, to the Soul Experience. We're also offering weekly experiences on Monday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I offer these healing experience where we do all things healing, discussions on healing and how to connect with your divine body wisdom, discussions and meditations, and also yoga to really help you find your foundation, your yesod, and jump off and really go into the realm of the soul and healing. Coming up, we have starting this Thursday night, May 21st at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, I'm beginning a group for soulful, spiritual midlife women that want to finally learn how to come home to our bodies in order to take that diving board and come into the mystical waters of your soul. So if you are a woman in midlife and you are ready to truly ground yourself and find wholeness within your body and then open to your divine mystery within, then I encourage you to sign up. You can always, I think it's in our Soul Center page and group, also on our website under events. And you can always email me at ariella@mysoulcenter.org. I think that's it for me right now.
Yeah, a lot of things coming up. We're going to do a legacy experience, which is kind of a positive, inspired remembrance of our loved ones. And we're going to do it on Father's Day, which is next month. I'm running some groups. I'm going to be doing a Kabbalah Soul Cinema with Feldman Mortuary here in Denver. It's virtual. It's open to anybody. We're going to be looking at 3 movies, The Sixth Sense, Defending Your Life, and What Dreams May Come, and look at from a Kabbalistic soul's journey and have a conversation around it. So you're welcome to reach out to me about that. I'll be publicizing it. And just doing a lot of counseling right now. I counsel people, coach people, and counsel people around loss, all kinds of loss, life coaching and navigating life's transitions, and what I call legacy consulting, consulting people about how to leave a legacy, live a legacy, and leave a legacy. And so really weaving that into all aspects of life. So I'm working with, again, everybody that I work with is beyond, midlife and beyond, the afternoon and the sunset of their life. And women, men, it doesn't matter. I'm working a lot right now with executives, executive level legacy counseling and coaching. But all people, welcome. And I would love to hear from you. So shoot me an email, rabbi@rabbi.com. And that's it. So with that, maybe we'll end with love is all there is.
Yai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Yai dai 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 yai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. So, as we end and conclude, we'll be turning off the video and then starting a Shabbat yoga class, just about a half an hour long. So if you're interested in moving your body with the theme of Yesod, a foundation, doing a lot of foundational poses, you are welcome to join us in just a few minutes after we end Soul-Centered Shabbat Experience.
And also thank you to Emerge Growth Strategies and Justin Shane. You're making our lives much easier with technology. I've turned over a lot of my IT issues, so I'm able to focus now more on you and us and the spirit. And thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom,
Namaste.
shalom.